She was called the 10th Muse. Her words once echoed in courts and across the Aegean, verses of love, longing, and aching clarity. Sappho of Lesbos wrote poems that moved tyrants and commoners alike. But time was not kind. Her books vanished. Her songs burned. What survives are fragments, half lines on crumbling papyrus, rescued from the trash heaps of history. She was a woman, a poet, a voice from a world that rarely preserved either, and yet her influence never fully faded. This is the story of Sappho. What we know, what we've lost, and why her voice still matters. A life half erased, a legacy still whispering through time. Let us wander back to the time when the shores of Lesbos echoed with the whispers of legends. The dawn rises over the Aegean Sea, casting its light on an island renowned for its bustling trade, fertile vineyards, and a deep-seated tradition of verse. Within this vibrant world, a young girl named Sappho would dare to entwine her own song with the fabric of history. Lesbos, both a hub and a haven, sang with the tales of gods and heroes, weaving poetry into the soul of its people. Yet amid this chorus, women found their roles restricted to the domestic sphere, their voices muted. Sappho, however, was poised to challenge these boundaries with the strength of her lyrical craft. The island of Lesbos stood as a beacon of cultural prosperity in ancient Greece, where the air thrummed with the harmonies of the celestial and the worldly. It was a place where epic tales and sacred hymns were spun not only by the voices of men, but whispered among the island's every current. Here Sappho was born, destined to rise out of these confines and redefine the very sounds that wafted through Lesbos' age-old groves and bustling marketplaces. Amid the myths and legends that filled this isle, Sappho's childhood unfolded. Stories of deities and legendary figures were not mere entertainments, but the vital threads that wove together the communal beliefs and superstitions of her world. Such tales provided a boundless well of inspiration from which Sappho would draw, infusing her work with a depth that mirrored the mythic landscape surrounding her, filled with triumphs and tragedies, gods mingling with mortals. Within the walls of the home, life for women in archaic Greece revolved around the loom, a symbol of domestic duty and societal expectation. Yet alongside this maternal burden, the lyre offered a different kind of freedom. For women like Sappho, the strings of the lyre opened pathways through which the confines of traditional roles could be transcended. Sappho's mastery of music and verse allowed her to twist the era's strictures into a tapestry of her own design. Born to an aristocratic family, Sappho was afforded privileges rare to her gender. Her family's high standing in Lesbos hierarchy endowed her with access to education and cultured social circles, enriching her understanding and sharpening her voice. Despite the shadows that enshroud the specifics of her personal life, what remains clear is how this background empowered her to maneuver within, and at times beyond, the limitations set by ancient society. Lesbos flourished at the crossroads of commerce as ships docked to exchange goods from distant lands. It was here, amidst the bustling confluence of trade and culture, that Sappho found a fertile ground for her creative inclinations. This melting pot where Eastern and Western ideas collided, where traditions were challenged and reimagined, richly fed into Sappho's work, offering her numerous perspectives and inspirations that shaped her into a poet whose voice transcended boundaries. The cultural fabric of Lesbos reached back through time, enhancing its standing as a cherished centre of the arts in the Greek world. Sappho's poetry, though largely lost, represented this dynamism. Her words painted emotions with a vivid brush, capturing the human experience with precision. Her legacy, though fragmented, reflects an enduring spirit and stands as a testament to Lesbos' lasting commitment to artistic excellence and innovation. At the heart of Sappho's world was Mytilene, a vibrant city where the pulse of political and cultural life was palpable. This metropolis, alive with merchants and philosophers, debates and transactions, formed the stage upon which Sappho's voice rose. Within its energetic maze, she absorbed the myriad stories and sounds that would animate her verse. Mytilene became more than Sappho's backdrop. It was a living muse, inspiring the love, loss, and longing that permeated her poetic lines. Education in archaic Greece was a privilege entwined with social status, often out of reach for women. Yet Sappho defied these norms. The education she received, a rarity in itself, coupled with an insatiable curiosity, pushed her to expand the horizons of women's roles in arts and letters, challenging societal dictates through the authority her poetry carried. Discovering her voice amid this rich tapestry of influence was no accident, but rather an intersection of circumstances and personal conviction. Sappho's words, imbued with clear-eyed emotion, managed to break through the muffling sands of time. Her poetry became a vehicle for profound truths and emotional clarity, illustrating with unmatched eloquence the depth of human feeling. Through her work, Sappho blazed trails others may never have dared to even envision. Her legacy stands as a pioneering force, her verses embodying a poetic revolution where personal became monumental. As her lyrics resonated with raw authenticity, they bridged the past and present. Sappho's reputation soared across generations as a defining spirit of lyricism, her creativity and humanity enduring even now through the echoes of time. In the bustling world of 6th century BCE Greece, Sappho stood as a remarkable figure on the island of Lesbos. She founded a thiassos, a sanctuary for young women seeking a life beyond the confines of domestic obligations, where they could gather in a small community focused on learning and art. This was no ordinary school. It was a refuge where the walls echoed with the strumming of lyres and the alluring rhythm of poetic verse. Within this sanctuary, Sappho nurtured her pupils, crafting a space that would become an essential part of the island's cultural fabric. Lesbos at the time was a vibrant hub intersecting various cultural influences, wrapping the island in a mosaic of ideas and traditions. Both Eastern and Western cultures left their mark on Lesbos, and this confluence manifested vividly in the thiassos's curriculum. Here, Sappho taught her students the art of lyric poetry, a form that thrived on personal expression and emotion, distinct from the heroic epics of the age. Her mentorship encouraged the young women to explore their emotions through words, an endeavour underscored by the accompaniment of the lyre, drawing a clear path between sentiment and sound. The education extended beyond mere verse. Lessons included philosophy, rhetoric, and the wisdom of oratory, helping students craft ideas and cultivate discourse. Dance and ritual further enriched their experience, providing a connection both to each other and to the divine. Sappho's instruction went beyond academia, aimed at creating well-rounded individuals who understood the complexities of their world and were equipped to navigate it with intelligence and grace. Within this nurturing enclave, the bonds forged were profound and enduring. Sappho's thiassos was not merely a collection of students, it was a sisterhood of shared experiences, with relationships akin to kinship. Singing, dancing, and storytelling wove these women together, fostering an environment where mutual support and encouragement thrived. Instead of whispers of society, they heard echoes of solidarity within these walls. Sappho's poetry immortalized these relationships, capturing the ebb and flow of friendship and love in a narrative of remarkable depth and nuance. Love and heartbreak became part of the curriculum, explored through Sappho's own verses. These themes were more than literary subjects, they were lessons in the heart's truth. Under her guidance, her students confronted desire, longing, and loss, using them as transformative forces. In this exploration, they found power in vulnerability and learned to balance passion with reason. These studies weren't confined to the romantic. They encompassed all human relationships, fostering an emotional intelligence and self-awareness that resonated well beyond the Thiassos. The lyrical language of Lesbos, particularly the Aeolic dialect, wrapped Sappho's teachings in a musicality that transcended her school's closure. Her mastery of this dialect allowed her poetry to resonate with a depth that would carry through time, making it both immortal and uniquely hers. Through their own creative endeavours, her students continued this tradition, preserving the language and cadence that had become a hallmark of her legacy. Sappho's influence extended across generations. As both mentor and muse, she elevated the Thiassos experience into a vibrant tapestry of art and intellectual exploration. Her presence inspired creativity, pushing her students to explore their own potential. She was guide and inspiration, her life and wisdom intertwining with her teachings to shape those who followed her. Under her tutelage, the Thiassos thrived as a beacon of intellectual inquiry and artistic expression. Its members bearers of her legacy, long after the school had faded into history. The island's vibrant cultural tapestry offered these women unique experiences, integrating new ideas and traditions into their growing repository of knowledge. Sappho encouraged this synthesis, pushing students to incorporate elements of this cultural mosaic into their expressions. The bustling life of Lesbos offered fresh fodder for their creative minds, a dynamic stimulus for discussion and innovation that continually propelled their learning forward. Ritual and ceremony infused the life of the Thiassos, connecting its members to traditions as old as Greece itself. Participation in these rituals offered a form of spiritual communion, helping her students discover their place in the cosmos. Through intertwining art with the sacred, the women experienced an enrichment of both body and spirit. These traditions allowed them to understand the divine narratives that shape their cultural heritage and find space for personal interpretation. Though set in a male-dominated world, Sappho's Thiassos carved out a niche of female agency and empowerment. Here, the limitations placed upon women could be challenged, if quietly, by fostering skills and independence within a safe space. Navigating the external world required finesse, as broader societal norms restricted their influence. However, even in these constraints lay strength and possibility, powered by their education and community, proving the enduring pursuit of empowerment. Sappho's legacy, written in verse, has echoed through millennia. Her contributions to lyric poetry ensured her place among the ancients. Her work explored emotions with a timeless intimacy. Though much of her work has been lost to time, the fragmented remnants continue to inspire and challenge. The Thiassos stands as a symbol of the transformative power of community and education, reminding us of the depth of human experience and the voices waiting to be heard. In the grand halls of ancient Greece, epic poetry held court, echoing the tales of heroic conquests and mythical gods. These epic narratives, epitomized by Homer's The Iliad and the Muse and the Odyssey, were the prestigious tapestries upon which Greek culture embroidered its values of power and legacy. Homer's sprawling sagas, laden with glory and grief, resonated with the communal identity of the Greeks, immortalizing the deeds of kings and the whims of capricious deities. Yet amid this grandeur arose a revolution, a shift from the collective to the personal that would change the fabric of Greek poetry forever. Enter Sappho, a voice of intimacy amid the epic clamour. Sappho's poetry diverged from the grandiose narratives of war and valour and turned instead to the quiet tumult of the human heart. She redirected the gaze from the tempestuous seas and bloodied battlefields to the tender landscape of human emotion. Her verses, unlike Homer's sweeping tales, whispered of longing and personal sorrow, focusing on the trembling hand risking a touch of the divine, the sleepless nights steeped in yearning, and gods who lounged not on Olympus but in the heart's innermost corridors. Sappho's lyricism thus marked a revolution not just of form, but of substance, redefining Greek poetry's boundaries with her own ethos. In a world attuned to epic narratives, Sappho dared to weave the intricacies of personal emotion into her poetry. Her approach transformed verse from tales of heroes to the tapestry of individual experience, celebrating the personal as political. By shifting focus from masculine deeds to the nuanced melodrama of emotion, Sappho offered a fresh model for Greek society, one that appreciated the depth of personal experiences. Amidst prevailing male voices, her work echoed with an assertive presence, giving voice to the often silenced experiences of women. Through her autobiographical elements, Sappho not only illuminated personal challenges, but universal human experiences, longing, turmoil, and joy, bridging a gap between male and female worlds. Sappho's work is suffused with love, a theme she painted with intricate strokes. Where mythology spoke of erratic lust or philosophical texts extolled Platonic ideals, she captured love's bittersweet intricacies with deliberate simplicity. Her verses murmured tender secrets, expressing longing with transcendental intensity. Love in Sappho's portrayal was both an exhilarating delicacy and a consuming force with the power to haunt the soul and stir the spirit. Longing permeated Sappho's verses, adding an emotional depth rare in Greek literature. Her poetry pulsed with yearning for the unattainable, reflecting a universal human condition, the desire we often harbour yet cannot fulfill. Her depiction of longing resonated as an extension of love, powerful and consuming, propelling one to madness both divine and wistful. Sappho's mastery in capturing profound sentimentality in mere words marked her poetry as undeniably revolutionary. Moreover, divine imagery flourished within Sappho's poems, expressing the profound interplay between gods and mortals. Unlike the aloof deities of epic tradition, Sappho's gods engaged intimately with human lives. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, appeared often in her verses, not as a distant power but as an immediate confidant. This personalization of divinity was prominent in Sappho's poetry. She invoked gods not to oversee battles, but to console and stir passions. By presenting gods as accessible, Sappho revealed a sacred connection between the divine and emotion. Gods in her verses were woven through the fibres of human experience, emphasizing their intertwined and personal impact on the cosmos of human emotion. In crafting her language, Sappho leaned into simplicity and precision, a stark departure from epic verbosity. She chose words carefully, crafting verses that evoked emotion over event, painting intimate portraits, with lyrical strokes. This economy of words allowed her to reach the raw essence of human feelings, making her poetry both profound and lucid. Moreover, her innovation with the Sapphic stanza, a lyrical metre of 3 long lines followed by a shorter one, lent her poems a melodic quality, resonating with her emphasis on musicality and emotion, captivating audiences with an audible dance of words. Amidst a masculine-dominated cultural milieu, Sappho's poetry provided a rare view into women's experiences. Her verses reflected their desires, memories, and aspirations with richness and sincerity. Defying patriarchal norms, through her work, Sappho carved a space for women's voices, reflecting the intricacies of their lives with authenticity. Her poetry embraced femininity as both subject and lens, interpreting universal human experiences. She portrayed women as complex beings, full-bodied with desires, intellect, and agency, redefining narratives for generations. Finally, Sappho's fearless portrayal of vulnerability challenged societal values of Stoicism. Her verses embraced human fragility, celebrating emotions with a sincere personal truth. By unflinchingly presenting emotional complexities, Sappho's readers felt seen and understood. Her work suggested that vulnerability wasn't a weakness, but testament to human strength. In revealing emotional pain, she defied conventions, celebrating the transformative power of truth and its rightful place within public discourse. Her enduring legacy continues to connect past and present, demonstrating the power of art to transcend time through the lyrical form's authenticity and depth. In the resonant halls of archaic Greece, the island of Lesbos thrived as a bustling hub of trade and culture, its maritime prowess making it an alluring prize in the chess game of political ambitions. This was a place where prosperity intermingled with danger, as shifting tides of power pulled even the most venerable families into its unpredictable currents. Sappho found herself entangled in this web of intrigue, her aristocratic roots offering little shield against the volatile alliances that crowned and opposed leaders with alarming frequency. For Sappho, her poetry was woven into the very fabric of this turbulence, a manifestation of both solace and subversion in a world where the pen was as mighty as the sword. Though the exact causes of Sappho's exile remain cloaked in mystery, it is clear that the maelstrom of politics played a decisive role. Exile in the ancient world was both punishment and strategy, a way to alleviate tensions by removing prominent figures from the battleground. For Sappho, the decree to leave Lesbos was a stark reminder of how precarious the ladder of influence could be. The bonds of kinship, treasured yet fraught with peril, could just as easily turn from protection to liability in the political landscape. Within this exile lay a bittersweet paradox, an escape from immediate peril, yet a profound rupture from all that was familiar. Her journey took her to Sicily, a realm distinct and diverse where she was both a stranger and a creator. Exile, far from a barren punishment, unfolded new chapters in Sappho's narrative. The vibrant coasts and storied cities of Sicily, awash with their own legends, became an unanticipated muse. Through foreign eyes, she absorbed the island's rich culture, infusing her work with its essence. Here, her poetry flourished against the backdrop of new sights, sounds, and traditions, translating her tale of displacement into a universal theme of longing and a quest for belonging. Yet this separation carved deep scars, severing the ties that bound her to her past. The absence of Lesbos, a cherished circle of friends, family and the thiassos she held dear, cut through her existence, leaving a void that words alone struggled to fill. In the solitude of exile, poetry became Sappho's lifeline, a channel to weave together fragments of past and present, love and loss. Her verses bore the weight of profound absence, echoing the universal sighs of separation that transcend time and space. Through this, Sappho found resilience in her art. Her exile, though fraught with sorrow, bore witness to the timeless cycle of suffering and renewal. She captured the essence of longing with a clarity that resonated across eras, crafting melodies of hope and remembrance that transcended the confines of her isolation. Her poetry stood as an affirmation of the enduring spirit to create and connect, turning adversity into a canvas for human expression that defied silence and suppression. The world of ancient Lesbos revealed how the personal was inextricably linked to the political. The machinations that led to Sappho's exile were not just the maneuvers of distant elites, but intimate reckonings that shaped lives in immediate ways. Her story sheds light on the high-stakes diplomacy of personal relationships, where political and emotional allegiances were synonymous, with ruin potentially lurking in the slightest misstep. Her exile underscores the precarious dance between allegiance and autonomy, a storyline mirrored in many eras across the annals of history. In the fickle arena of ancient politics, where power shifted as swiftly as the Aegean winds, Sappho's plight illustrated the volatility of fate. Leaders and loyalties transformed with bewildering rapidity, fate dictated by public whims or clandestine rivalries. Exile stood both as cautionary talisman and testament to history's shifting sands, hinting at the fragile reality of those navigating within its capricious forces. Sappho's story serves as a potent reminder of the adaptability required to endure an ever-changing landscape, a poignant testament to human tenacity. Against these forces, Sappho reclaimed her voice, defying the silence designed to erase her. Through her lyrical mastery, she turned exile into a vibrant testimony of resilience. Her poetry was not merely a record of survival, but a radiant assertion of agency, embodying the transformative power of expression amid suppression. Her legacy extends beyond the immediate confines of her hardship, resonating with those who have struggled to articulate their narratives in the shadows of formidable challenge. The fragments of Sappho's work have reached across the centuries, etching an indelible mark on cultural memory. Her lyrical prowess defied the erosion of time, firmly establishing her as a beacon for future generations seeking to find their voice. In the cadence of her verses, we hear the timeless refrains of love, grief, and hope that bind humanity, all of it woven together by a poet who could neither be silenced by distance nor diminished by time. Through Sappho, the ancient whispers gain resonance, a reminder of art's enduring power to capture the complexities of the human soul. In the hushed whispers of ancient Greece, amidst the cool Aegean winds that carried tales from city to city, the life of Sappho lingered as a tantalizing enigma. Her personal relationships were more than mere fodder for gossip. They crafted a complex narrative as vivid as her poetry. In an era long before the emergence of structured sexual identities, rumours of Sappho's loves roamed free among the bustling markets and echoing halls, infusing her legend with admiration and scandal. The world saw her as a figure of unbridled passion, a poet whose grasp of desire broke mundane bounds. The heart of the centuries-long speculation is found within her deeply personal verses. These poems speak to emotions rather than events, an intricate dance of longing and affection for women seemingly close to her heart. It was within the nurturing embrace of her Thiasos, a circle where young women gathered under Sappho's tutelage, that these poetic fragments likely found their muse. Here, the boundaries between educator and companion could easily blur, adding fuel to the fires of ancient discourse. Passionate expressions filled her lines, personal pronouns turning verses into expressions that defied singular interpretation. Were they simple mentor-pupil connections, or did they speak of something deeper, echoing the vibrancy of Sappho's inner world? Sappho's verses not only captured the heart's tugs, but also plunged into the mysterious depths of human emotion. Her imagery was lush with sensation, trembling fingers, shared gazes, heartbeats in sync with the rhythms of love. Calling upon Aphrodite and other divine witnesses, her works explored love with complexity that defied the constraints of time. Through surviving papyrus fragments, the poet's craftsmanship is unmistakable, each word bearing weight, each pause rendering layers of meaning. Eros dances through her poetry like an untamed force of nature, levelling reason with raw emotion and leaving in its wake a chronicling of love's sublime turbulence. In the cultural tapestry of her time, Sappho's words existed beyond binaries, within a fluidity that allowed the blending of emotional and physical attraction with ease. In ancient Greece, such expressions were common within ceremonial and educational realms. Her poetry avoids declaring fixed identities, choosing instead to dwell in the sphere of emotion itself. This refusal to classify ensures her allure remains timeless, absorbing the anonymities of gender into broader themes of connection. The nuanced handling of same-sex desire framed her work within a society where such expressions, at least artistically, were acknowledged and even celebrated. To her contemporaries, Sappho was not merely a purveyor of verse, but a cultural icon in a society wary of women's public roles. Her dual identity, both revered artist and subject of whispered tales, crafted a stark commentary on the challenges faced by women who dared the public sphere. Yet, her societal standing, enveloped in both fascination and critique, bolstered the power of her lyricism. The public eagerly dissected her supposed indiscretions and potential affairs, less as dismissals and more as objectified marvels of her life's brightly woven legend. Her renown was intertwined with perceived scandal, her artistic genius a beacon amidst curiosity and conjecture. Throughout history, Sappho's life has been wrapped in layers of mythology and folklore, her loves and losses magnified into heroic epics of unrequited passion and tragic leaps into the unknown. These legends, spun across centuries and cultures, transformed Sappho from historical figure to semi-mythical character, lending a melodramatic hue to her life story. Embedding her within the mythic fabric reflects not only admiration of her work, but permits societies to process her life story through an embellishment fitting a character of timeless intrigue. Even in antiquity, the reception of Sappho's work and personal life illuminated societal norms, celebrated for her emotional insight, yet scrutinized for her intimate themes. Her poetry sparked discussions on gender, authority, and art's freedoms. Historical accounts show admiration intercut with dismay, critics wary of her deep emotional portrayals. However, her enduring legacy lies in her refusal to shy away from pure emotional expression, using language as a weapon to carve a reputation that defied simplistic categorization. Today, Sappho's legacy carries significant weight within LGBTQ reflections, representing a durable lineage of same-sex desire confronting societal boundaries. Her interpretations defy straightforward narratives, inviting varied audience experiences while rejecting labels. Through a modern perspective, her poetry reveals its enduring relevance to discussions surrounding identity, gender, and sexuality. Her works continue to illuminate human love in all its forms, challenging conventions while linking ancient and contemporary understandings of desire. The line between myth and reality blurs as Sappho's life is recounted in intersecting narratives, stories both seeded in truth and born of legend. Though the fragments of her work are scattered, histories filled with intrigue resist clear demarcation between factual existence and mythic embellishment. The ongoing quest to separate Sappho from myth celebrates the allure of her enigmatic persona, a beacon for generations eager to understand those who transcend social norms. Her narrative, nestled between poetic truth and imaginative reverie, remains an intrinsic part of history's dialogue on passion, identity, and art. In the vibrant tapestry of ancient Greek culture, the 9 lyric poets emerged as timeless voices, immortalized by the Alexandrians in the 3rd century BCE. Each poet became a beacon of human emotion, capturing the soul's deepest cries in song. It was in this male-dominated chorus that Sappho's voice rang out, her inclusion not merely a novelty due to her gender, but a testament to her unparalleled genius. Her poetry, steeped in intimacy and emotion, transcended the grand tales of epic poetry, touching upon joy, sorrow and love in ways that spoke directly to the human spirit. Sappho stood among these celebrated poets, her presence revolutionary in a world where women's voices were often silenced. Her life, spent largely on the island of Lesbos, carved a path through a realm where women were largely confined to domesticity. Her very inclusion in this list of exceptional poets reshaped perceptions, challenging the prevailing notions of what women could achieve. Sappho's ability to rise in such a patriarchal society was more than personal triumph. It was a broader cultural milestone, asserting the intellectual and creative potential of women, and pushing the boundaries of gender roles. This acceptance among Greece's revered lyricists was not limited to a token gesture of diversity, but a critical acknowledgement of her mastery and innovation. Her creative prowess was a beacon of what women could accomplish, challenging ancient biases and leaving her mark as a formidable force in the cultural landscape. Renowned as the 10th Muse by Plato, Sappho's work was celebrated as a divine gift, her verses considered almost otherworldly. The title, evoking the divine inspiration Muses embodied in Greek mythology, was not casually given. It acknowledged both her technical brilliance and the transcendent quality of her work that seemed to channel insights from a higher realm. This recognition, elevating her from mere mortal to a symbol of divine favour, rippled through generations, encouraging future women artists to see in her a model of artistic excellence and divine endorsement. Sappho's legacy was not confined to her lifetime. Her influence seeped into the core of literary tradition and cultural discourse. Her pioneering approach to exploring emotion and personal experience transformed the paradigm of lyrical expression, setting precedents for capturing the complexities of the heart. Her work, imbued with raw honesty and emotional depth, provided a template for poets across ages to convey subjective experiences, challenging subsequent generations to delve beyond mere events into the labyrinth of personal emotions. Her poetry, though often fragmented today, remains a touchstone for broader cultural reflections. Sappho's exploration of love, identity, and desire resonates with ongoing dialogues on gender and sexuality, bridging the chasm between antiquity and modernity. Her lines continue to inspire artists and thinkers, offering clarity and connectivity across times and cultures, an enduring testament to the transformative power of art. This resonance speaks not only of the past, but offers a window into our shared future, highlighting art's profound ability to transcend time and space. Throughout history, the visual arts have sought to capture Sappho's enigmatic presence. From classical sculptures to Renaissance paintings, artists have kept the image of Sappho alive, her depictions always invoking the tools of her trade, lyres, scrolls, or quills, symbols of her poetic stature. These visual portrayals kept her legend thriving, bridging the epochs and serving as markers of her continued relevance. Such artistic representations enhance her mythology, capturing the diverse facets of her character, her passion, contemplation, and enduring allure, provoking new generations to re-examine her contributions. Yet, the narrative of Sappho's life is frequently tangled with myth and speculation, each retelling layering her legend while obscuring the realities of her existence. This blend of fact and fiction underscores the mystique that has enraptured audiences over the centuries, drawing attempts to understand the woman behind the words. Her sparse biography, rich in legend, invites interpretation, creating a canvas upon which each generation paints anew, keeping her enigmatic allure alive. Sappho's introspective depth extends beyond poetry to influence philosophy and thought. Her expressions of love and existential emotion resonate deeply with philosophical inquiries, engaging thinkers across eras in dialogues about human experience. Her capacity to encapsulate profound emotion in simple yet poignant phrases reflects an understanding of human nature that intersects with philosophical discourse, weaving her insights into a tapestry of thought. Sappho's legacy, permeating cultural consciousness through generations, continues to reverberate across the world. Her voice, fragmented by time, resonates through the ages, influencing countless poets, writers, and artists. Her themes of love and longing cross cultural and temporal boundaries, enhancing dialogues around artistic expression and human experience. Her work is not just a historical artifact, but a living force, inviting exploration and dialogue, a testament to art's enduring power to evoke emotion and bridge divides. Far from her Greek origins, Sappho's influence reaches worldwide, her themes of love and beauty, transcending geographic and cultural boundaries. Her work fosters a shared dialogue that speaks to universal human experiences, eluding the constraints of language and culture. This universality underscores the timelessness of her poetry and its capacity to foster empathy and a celebration of human creativity. The rediscovery of Sappho's fragments in the late 19th century ignited a renaissance of interest. Each recovered piece of papyrus offered renewed insight into her work, underscoring the allure and importance of her voice. The reclamation of her legacy is a testament to art's fragile yet enduring nature, a cultural celebration that revives her contributions and preserves her influence, ensuring her voice resonates across the tapestry of contemporary culture. Imagine a world where the air is thick with the scent of ink and old parchment, where the flicker of a fire casts dancing shadows across shelves brimming with scrolls. This was Sappho's world, one of lyrical creation and intellectual triumph, where her voice challenged the fundamental norms of her time. Known as the 10th Muse, Sappho is believed to have authored 9 volumes of poetry, a treasure trove chronicling an array of human emotions, love, longing, joy, and sorrow, captured with remarkable sensitivity. Her literary legacy, now largely lost, promised insights into a society where women's voices were seldom recognized, let alone preserved. The survival of knowledge in the ancient world was perilous, with delicate papyrus and fragile ink standing against the relentless tide of time. In a culture indifferent to women's contributions, Sappho's works were especially vulnerable. Preserved only sporadically, her poetry was not mere idle musings. It offered deliberate insights into human relationships and divine influence. Rediscovering her works could have fundamentally altered our understanding of Greek literature, reminding us that women's perspectives were once and are still vital. The ravages of fire have historically consumed the creations of many, whisked away in moments of chaos or conflict. The flames that sealed the fate of the Library of Alexandria exemplify the catastrophic loss that might have also befallen Sappho's works. Fires, whether accidental or deliberate, silenced countless voices, reducing profound words to mere ashes before they could reach distant hearts. Particularly precarious was Sappho's poetry, which already teetered on cultural peripheries, making it susceptible to such fiery erasure. The turbulence of ancient history, marked by wars and conquests, often led to the obliteration of entire collections, not just curiosity's casualties, but also misfortunes of war. Libraries were subordinated to the spoils of dominance, consumed by the flames of conquerors, more intent on ruling than preserving. This volatile history left a legacy of sporadic survival, with Sappho's poems echoing human fragility, likely adorning shelves before being consumed by such imperial infernos. Censorship posed a more insidious threat to Sappho's legacy than physical destruction. As ideology shifted, particularly with Christianity's ascension, texts deemed morally or politically risky faced selective eradication. Sappho's exploration of themes like love and camaraderie among women made her vulnerable to suppression, as her verses challenged moral and religious constraints of emerging doctrines. Her expression of female empowerment was an affront to conventional norms, rendering her work a target for cultural silencing. Tied closely with religious institutions, cultural gatekeepers determined which texts would endure and which faced obliteration. Her sensuality, rooted in emotional depth, put her at odds with the moralistic currents of subsequent eras. Precariously maintained archives often excluded her intimate revelations, subtler attempts at censorship, erasing her presence from cultural memory. This omitted journey of omission reflects an enduring historical discomfort with female voices that spoke unabashedly of profound experiences. Yet remarkably, fragments of Sappho's work managed to transcend time's harsh toll. Found in unexpected places, pieces of recycled papyrus, notes in forgotten tomes, these remnants offer glimpses into her world. Each fragment, rare and precious, bridges the centuries, affirming her linguistic mastery and unique voice. The discovery of these pieces stands as a monumental achievement, each word a window into ancient thought and emotion. Scholars have painstakingly pieced together these texts from scraps, finding new meaning within lines that have survived historical oblivion. The labour of translating extends beyond language, seeking to reconstruct context and narrative lost over centuries. With each word choice and metre resonating profoundly, scholars work tirelessly to reform these echoes into a new chorus, preserving Sappho's insights into perennial human themes. In some cases, her words endured through the pens of later writers who found resonance in her lyricism. Male authors, like the Roman poet Catullus, incorporated her poetry within their texts. acknowledging if only in part her unparalleled gift for language. Her themes, reinterpreted through distant lenses, found new life in literary traditions far removed from her island home. However, Sappho's presence was often obscured by the biases of those who recounted her work, resulting in survival as fragments rather than completed narratives. Selective validation allowed phrases to persist, often reframed under narratives she never intended to craft. Her voice, while echoed, was never fully heard, her narratives trimmed to fit the agendas of her successors. In recent decades, Sappho's legacy has been resurrected through contemporary scholarship, benefiting from advancements in archaeological techniques and a revived interest in women's voices. Transcription technologies, coupled with interdisciplinary approaches, have allowed a fuller reconstruction of these literary mosaics. Each discovery ignites interpretative debates, ushering her works into the cultural consciousness once more. This scholarly revival resonates beyond academia, colouring modern artistic interpretations in literature, music, and multimedia. By reintegrating her voice into the modern tapestry, Sappho, though fragmented, emerges not as a relic of the past, but an active participant in present discourses. Her story, of resilience amid oblivion, becomes a testament to art's miraculous resistance against adversity and against efforts to silence it. Reflecting on Sappho's enduring presence, what becomes clear is a tale not just of loss, but of defiant, enduring melody, a song remarkable not for what it has endured, but for what it continues to inspire, urging us to listen still to its echoes. In the Roman Empire, the world of Latin poetry found itself gripped by Sappho's lingering whisper from across the Aegean Sea. While her verses arrived fragmented and forlorn, they carried an exquisite intimacy that offered a profound contrast to the grand, epic tales favoured by Roman tradition. Poets like Ovid found in Sappho's work a mirror of emotional depth and an invigoration of personal expression. In Heroides, for instance, Ovid penned letters from mythological heroines with the same confessional tone, recognising the subtle strength in her whispers of love and longing. Her style incited Roman poets to delve into new thematic waters, diving deep into yearning, unrequited desires, and the private contours of heartache. Amidst this admiration, complexities brewed. Roman culture, steeped in stoicism and a celebration of virility, was often sceptical of Sappho's unrestrained emotional expressiveness. Her passionate reflections on love and identity stood starkly against the backdrop of societal norms that prized stoicism. Thus arose a paradox: reverence for her art, yet suspicion of the woman. Roman satire, sharp and acerbic, transformed her life into fodder for humour, amplifying alleged escapades into ridicule. Her identity became a caricature, often mistaking genuine emotional depth for scandalous excess. Yet, amidst humour and stereotype, Sappho's words held fast, resiliently threading through the Roman narrative as both an inspiration and an enigma. The satirical spotlight was intense, painting Sappho's romantic ventures with broad, playful strokes. Roman playwrights moulded her into stories less concerned with her literary genius and focused more on exaggerated romances, feeding audiences' tastes for spectacle. This misrepresentation was no mere jest. It reinforced a rigid societal gaze on gender and behaviour, using the imagined Sappho as a cautionary emblem of unchecked passion. Here she was entangled in Rome's patriarchal anxieties, her image manipulated to reflect societal apprehension toward outspoken female figures. Yet, even as satirical portrayals distorted her identity, serious Roman poets embraced the vibrant power of her work. Catullus, among them, revered her exploration of desire, drawing inspiration to craft verses that paralleled her intensity. Sappho became an unacknowledged muse, guiding poets like Horace in their exploration of personal experiences. Her presence inspired them to fuse Roman philosophical musings with intimate emotion, crafting a distinctly Roman lyricism that bore her delicate yet penetrating touch. This fusion, this stylistic evolution, ensured Sappho's voice resonated powerfully within Rome's poetic tapestry, a blend of Greek artistry and Roman ethos. Amidst shifting perceptions, the Romans painted Sappho into a moralistic tableau, moulding her legacy into a narrative fraught with lessons. As her real achievements became eclipsed by fables, she emerged as both revered poet and moral scapegoat. Within a society that exalted order, disciplined virtue, and adherence to norms, her tale was twisted into a reflective allegory of excess. Sappho's legacy was an illustrative tool, warning women of the perils of passion, a skewed story more imagined than true. Despite these layers of interpretation, some Romans ensured the survival of her poetic whispers. Preserving fragments of her work was a conflicted act of admiration and cultural introspection. The fragments, woven through Roman literary fabric, held a unique dimension of human emotion and artistry, threading Sappho's influence into the heart of Western tradition. Compilations and historical accounts, despite their skewed context, allowed her expressions to echo through time, bridging eras of divide and cultural dissonance. In Roman narratives, Sappho assumed dual roles, illustrating both the nobility and flaws of human nature. Authors alternately portrayed her as the tragic heroine, beset by the same passions her poetry detailed, or as a flawed figure entangled in moral lessons. These complex characterizations showcased Rome's grappling with Hellenistic influences and shifting societal ideals, a reflection of both admiration and resistance. Her presence in Roman literature embodied the cultural confrontation between Greek elegance and Roman pragmatism. As the Roman Empire journeyed through time, Sappho's poetic legacy spurred an enduring cultural echo. Despite being clouded by misunderstanding and myth, her influence only intensified, reaching new heights during the Renaissance and beyond. Although misinterpretations often obscured her intent, the beauty of her surviving fragments ignited inspiration in future literary movements. Modern and romantic poets found a kindred spirit in Sappho, using her emotive legacy to chart their own poetic waters. Thus, her voice, fragmented yet fierce, continued to ripple across the ages. Rome's interpretative lens on Sappho extended beyond the realm of poetry, reflecting on its own social complexities. By reimagining her work, Romans navigated their cultural affiliations and divergences with the Greek world, wrestling with societal constraints on gender, artistry, and morality. In their attempts to understand her, they unconsciously channeled their own societal character into this narrative, offering a timeless discourse on how art transcends, adapts, and even defies cultural boundaries. Sappho's influence, nurtured through this Roman interplay, illustrated the art's inexhaustible resilience, echoing through ancient eras into modernity. Her lyrical footprints, though scattered and incomplete, speak of an enduring capacity to challenge and inspire across time's relentless march. A chorale of resilience across borders, lost in interpretation, yet unmistakably vital and eternal. In the tumbling chaos after the Roman Empire's fall, a new world dawned, one defined by the rise of Christianity and the Church's sway over Europe's cultural compass. This era saw a radical shift in priorities. Where once Sappho's lyric poetry had soared, it now faced a world less welcoming of its themes of love and emotion. Her verses, which had delighted the corridors of Alexandria and the lips of Roman intelligentsia, now seemed incompatible with a society increasingly devoted to religious texts. Piety eclipsed the pagan pursuits of heart and flesh. Educational institutions reshaped curricula to mirror this change. Monasteries, the citadels of learning, prioritized the tales of Homer and philosophies of Aristotle, yet Sappho's poignant stanzas faltered against theological censorship. In monastic halls, where learning meant survival through transcription, only texts that sang in harmony with Christian doctrine found their future secure. Sappho's poetry, secular and rich in pagan reverie, was unwelcome in the scriptoriums where knowledge was both preserved and purged, the latter occurring in a silent sweep rather than a fiery purge. Her vanishing act was emblematic of a wider erasure, a shrivelling of libraries, and a shrinking cultural footprint, leaving only echoes of a once vibrant literary tapestry. The spread of Christianity established not just a spiritual dominion, but a cultural one, pushing pagan traditions to the margins. The Church, nurturing a unified cultural identity, eyed classical texts with trepidation. Philosophers like Plato cautiously entered the domain of Christian scholarship, but Sappho's verses, a rich tapestry of earthly beauty and passion, belong to a fading past not easily reconciled with emergent ideals of chastity. Monastic scriptoria, acting under these new norms, chose not to transcribe Sappho's work, silencing her expression of love and desire in favour of religious canon. Her absence highlighted a power dynamic, where ideology morphed the canon of literature, selectively amplifying some voices while subduing others. In the medieval manuscript tradition, scriptoria acted as sentinels of knowledge, where monks, one of the few literate groups, copied texts by hand. Their choices were far from random. Theology and select classical works governed their priorities, and Sappho's poetry, so steeped in sensuality, offered little appeal. These scriptoriums favoured what affirmed salvation, determining the intellectual lineage inherited by future generations. The omission of Sappho's work was a silence wrought from intention, prioritising narratives deemed spiritually enriching, casting aside any inconvenient voices. The patriarchy of medieval society further shrouded women's contributions, sequestering their voices to the periphery of culture. Monasteries and convents, male-dominated centres of knowledge, skewed toward religious teachings. As one of the few ancient female voices, Sappho was inherently at a disadvantage. Her exploration of female desire didn't fit into the era's rigid virtue moulds, leaving her work without resonance in a time that marginally acknowledged women's intellectual capacities. The linguistic chasm between Greek and Latin further isolated Sappho's legacy. As Greek literary traditions shrank, the Western world increasingly communicated through Latin. The Roman Empire's fracture widened this rift, sidelining Greek works in favour of Latin literature, more aligned with ecclesiastical purposes. Sappho, a Greek tradition stalwart, found her legacy bottlenecked by a cultural and linguistic divide that restricted her works to an intellectual oblivion in Western Europe. Church censure, the strict moral arbiter of the Middle Ages, judged texts against the measure of austerity and chastity. Sappho's unabashed celebration of sensuality and devotion to Aphrodite clashed with Christian stringency, labelling her verses as unfit for ecclesiastical preservation. In a climate wary of spiritual corruption, her work was vulnerable to silencing, considered too pagan for transcription due to its secular nature and evocative language. Iconoclastic movements, which scorned idolatry, often extended their purge to written works, reshaping the cultural landscape by cleansing pagan influences. These violent repudiations of the past obliterated text associated with polytheism, where even Sappho's vibrant invocations of love deities risked inciting ruin. As fervent iconoclasts struck down idolized remnants, Sappho's work faced not passive neglect, but active eradication. The scant fragments that survived hint at her enduring impact. Her words endured, not through organized care, but through sporadic mentions in later works. Preserved incidentally by those hesitant to let her legacy fade entirely, her lines whisper from the margins of history. These accidents of preservation spoke to her once mighty influence and foreshadowed her eventual resurrection during the Renaissance, when classical texts became prized once more. Ultimately, Sappho's absence is a haunting reminder of how power dictates memory, demonstrating that cultural heritage is fickle and vulnerable. Subjugated narratives may fade from view, but Sappho's rediscovery in later centuries serves as a testament to the persistence of written word and the resilience of human culture. The dilapidated remnants of her verses standing testimony to a voice once stifled, now renewed. Her story, woven from shards, exemplifies that even silenced voices are never completely lost, offering hope and highlighting the timeless duty to shield all facets of human expression from modern sandstorms. In the 19th century, amid a burgeoning fascination with the ancient world, scholars unearthed fragments of Sappho's work. Her voice, long silent, sparked a fresh wave of intrigue as these pieces revealed a different kind of song, one of love and personal longing, standing in stark contrast to the celebrated epics of male poets. This rediscovery captivated romantic poets and Victorian academics alike, igniting debates about the value of marginalised voices in historical narratives. Scholars pored over papyrus scrolls emerging from Egyptian sands, reassembling the lines of a woman who sang intimately of the human heart. This revival marked the beginning of a deeper recognition of Sappho's genius. Her psychological insights and lyrical craftsmanship challenged the continuing masculine bias of classical literature. Conferences became arenas for re-evaluating the impact of her work and for discussing the importance of recognising women's contributions across history. Her newly uncovered verses revealed themes that resonated with both the romantic spirit of individualism and a growing awareness of women's historical underrepresentation. As the 20th century unfolded, the quest to reconstruct Sappho's poetry became more intense. Academics worldwide, fueled by technological advances in papyrology, meticulously pieced together her poetry from disjointed snippets. They brought her evocative voice back to life, revealing her mastery of emotion and expression. Her works, characterized by their personal deconstruction of love and identity, began to find the parallels in modernist themes of intimacy and self-reflection. Sappho's renewed presence inspired writers and artists who viewed her as a precursor to modern ideals of authenticity and personal voice. Significantly, Sappho's Renaissance mirrored a broader shift within classical studies, a recognition of women's roles in history and academia. The feminist movements of the 20th century propelled new interpretations of Sappho's work, as female scholars sought to reclaim her voice. They pushed against long-standing patriarchal narratives and celebrated Sappho as a symbol of female empowerment. Her poetry became a touchstone for examining themes of women's community and agency, challenging traditional perceptions of gender roles in antiquity and academia. Sappho did not only reignite scholarly interest, but also inspired a diverse array of artists. Musicians composed new works, embedding her timeless lyrics into contemporary genres, bridging the ancient world with the present through haunting melodies and rhythms. Her emotive power seamlessly wove into modern songs, echoing across a millennium to capture contemporary imaginations. In literature, echoes of her themes reverberated, influencing narratives centered on love, emotion, and the intricate tapestry of human relationships. Writers embraced her intimate exploration of personal themes, crafting stories that resounded with her depth and authenticity. For many, Sappho's fragments also carried revolutionary potential within feminist literature. Her unabashed expression of female desire and identity resonated within arenas seeking diverse narratives, positioning her as a precursor in LGBTQ+ histories. Modern interpretations acknowledged her themes as emblematic of gender and sexual inclusivity, further cementing her influence on writers exploring these dimensions. Sappho's poetry, with its candid portrayal of female desire, provided a foundation for contemporary discussions on self-expression, gender, and identity, acting as a guiding beacon in unfolding feminist discourses. The ongoing analysis of Sappho's work draws fascinating parallels between ancient lyrical narratives and contemporary themes. She explored love, longing, and the human experience with a veracity that transcended time. Her work's emotional landscapes remain evocative, allowing modern audiences to see their own reflections in her lyricism. Scholars continuously dissect these elements, bridging an emotional connection between eras. Her poetry challenges readers to explore the universal emotions rooted in human nature, maintaining her presence as a vital voice across generations. Translating Sappho into modern languages involves navigating the delicate balance of authenticity and adaptation. As scholars strive to capture her voice's essence, they confront the challenges of conveying her lyrical intent through the lens of divergent languages and cultural contexts. They work meticulously to preserve the intimacy and beauty of her original compositions, treating each translation as an act of reverence and interpretation. This demanding task ensures Sappho's poetic essence remains vibrant and accessible, spanning the centuries to touch modern readers' hearts. While academia tends to Sappho's legacy, her allure transcends scholarly circles. Imaginations have leaped at the enigmatic allure of her life and work, spurring cultural interpretations in film, television, and graphic novels. Modern portrayals often blend myth with reality, revealing Sappho as a timeless muse of personal expression and empowerment. These reinventions reflect shifting cultural attitudes towards gender and creativity, echoing her relevance in the complexities of contemporary life. Sappho's work from a queer lens enriches our understanding of her poetry and personhood. Her depictions of love between women offer a layered exploration of desire and companionship, positioning her as an early figure within LGBTQ+ history. Modern queer scholars celebrate these facets, finding in her verses a validation of diverse identities and experiences that defy heteronormative constraints. Through these readings, Sappho emerges as a figure of empowerment, bridging ancient and present identities, and speaking to the continuities of human love. Sappho's voice, fragmented yet enduring, resounds in the 21st century as a testament to the human condition's infinite facets. Her legacy prompts society to re-evaluate concepts of gender and identity, urging a renewed appreciation for varied artistic voices in our shared narrative. As we continue to discover, interpret, and celebrate her work, Sappho's poetry remains an indomitable force, an echo from the ancients that demands attention and inspires awe. Her voice, poignant, personal, and profoundly human, continues to trailblaze through time. If you've enjoyed this journey into her world, consider subscribing and joining us as we delve into the forgotten voices of history.